In this Musical Talk mini, you're going to hear David Herzog talk to two members of the cast of the musical Once We Lived Here that is playing at the King's Head Theatre until the 26th of April. We're going to start this discussion and end the discussion with two songs from the musical. The song you're hearing now is All Roads Lead to Home.
There's places you've forgotten, though they were once your life. But memory can wound you and cut you like a knife. For the places you've forgotten, no matter where you roam, come surging from behind you. All roads lead to home. You set out on a journey and close the door behind. The path ahead is hidden, but still it's yours to find. As you set out on that journey, a silent metronome is counting down the seconds. All roads lead to home. You think you finally left and you're free to make your way. The rules and expectations are left with yesterday. But paths will always split in two, leave you wondering what to do. Without a pause, the things you knew will point you on your way. Nothing ripens until it nears its time. Let the reason remind you of the rhyme. All the baggage tossed aside, you thought you'd hinder on your ride, comes flooding to you like the tide the second you forget. Places I don't see yet, they twinkle far away. I close my eyes, imagine I'll be there too one day. For the places I don't see yet are written in a poem, beginning long before me. All roads lead, all roads lead to home.
My name's Mel Stewart and I play Hayley McPherson.
Hi, my name's Sean Rennie and I play Burke, Richard Burke.
Okay, friends, and now we're here today hanging out at the King's Head Theatre here in Islington, and we're talking with some of the cast of Once We Lived Here, which is a new Australian musical that's going on here in London until the 26th of April, I believe. Is that right?
That's right.
That's great.
So we're here talking with Mel and Sean, and which of you guys would like to tell us a little bit about the history of this piece and where it began and how it sort of came to be here in London?
Sean's pointing at me, so I think that means me.
Hooray.
So Once We Lived Here is written by Dean Bryant and composed by Matthew Frank.
Okay.
They were a writing, composing team from Australia. They workshopped this piece back in 2008, and it had some readings and development back in Australia.
Okay.
They had a professional showing then of the piece, and they did a beautiful cast recording as well with that original cast. The piece has then had an airing in New York off Broadway.
Okay.
At a musical theatre festival over there. And yeah, back home it was received extremely well. It's a beautiful family drama that I think the Australian audience has really responded to. Got a wonderful Green Room Award for Best New Australian Work, as well as acting awards for the female leads as well. So it was received really well. And we're really thrilled now that it's getting a UK premiere, thanks to the King's Head, who support new writing, and we're really grateful that they've supported Dean and Matthew for Once We Lived Here.
Excellent, thank you. And Sean, could you tell us what exactly the piece is about for people who haven't heard of it yet?
It's essentially a family drama set on a sheep farm in rural Victoria, Australia, during quite a severe drought. And the show is played in the present form and then also in flashback form. So you see this family drama unfold over the course of a long weekend. They all gather at the family farm as adults now. because of an ill mother. And during the course of the weekend, they relive memories and eventually sort of a story unfolds that I won't go into for spoilers. But yeah, it's essentially a family drama based over a long weekend, and the family sort of dynamics all unplay throughout the course of the evening. Set on this very dry and arid sheep farm that is suffering because of the drought.
Okay. So tell us about the character that you play in the piece then.
So I am the only non-family member in the play. It's a cast of 5. There's 4 McPhersons, and I am the outsider. I am a farmhand, Richard Burke, who comes in to help the family 8 years in the past, and then I've left the family and have come back on this one long weekend as well. So I have history with the family, and in particular with Amy, the central character. Yeah, so I'm sort of like the outsider, the kookaburra among the sheep. I don't know what that quote was in that review.
Close enough.
Yeah. So I'm like the outsider who comes and shakes things up a little bit.
Excellent. And so, Mel, tell us about your character, Amy. Is that right?
Yes, I play Amy McPherson, and the oldest daughter, and I have been the one that stayed on the property to look after it with my ailing mother. So the two of us have worked the property through the drought and through the hardships. So I'm the one that stayed home, and I'm also the one that calls my family members back on this long weekend. Mum's sick and the farm's not doing so well, so I'm sort of the responsible end of the family that call everybody back for the weekend. Amy's also trying to keep this legacy of this farm alive. You know, there's grandfathers and fathers that have worked the property and worked the land, and she absolutely has this call of duty to keep it going. But as a young 28-year-old woman working an enormous sheep station in this really difficult drought, you know, it's trying times for her, so you watch as she desperately does try to just make it all work.
Does this piece take place in present day, essentially?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the long weekend definitely does, and then it during Act 1 especially, there are a series of flashbacks that flash back to us all as young adults and also as teenagers and as children as well. So it's really exciting as an actor to be able to, in the space of a couple of seconds on stage, sort of transform into our younger versions of ourselves and tell an extra a piece of this puzzle, which eventually towards the end of the evening becomes a clear picture about the history of this family.
Brilliant. And just listening to some of the things that you've been talking about already, the themes of family, about home life and the legacy, themes that are very prevalent at the moment in media in terms of things like Downton Abbey immediately comes to mind. Certainly something that's not present day. That's, of course, a period drama. Certainly universal themes, though, and these are coming from Australia to Britain. How do you think these universal themes have been received over here?
Well, I think that's exactly right. Everyone has family. Everyone has family history. Everyone has family dynamics, family secrets.
Yeah.
And things that you all try to hide from siblings and et cetera, et cetera. So those themes are totally universal. This could be a family drama set on a sheep farm in northern England.
Right.
It just so happens to be written because our writers are both Australian, and one of them grew up on a sheep farm in Australia. So this is what they knew.
We've had good responses from our audiences as well. We had a beautiful northern farmer in with her daughter the other week, and they loved it. And she said it was moving and funny and sad, and that it could have been a story from her past. So that was really pleasing for us to hear, and I think generally the audiences get it.
Yeah, and I also think that the Australian and British sense of humour is quite similar in the sense that it's quite a different sensibility than the American sensibility, and I think
it's quite self-deprecating, isn't it?
Yeah, and so Australians like to, we say, take the piss out of themselves. And I think Brits do that a little bit as well. So I think the humour transfers quite well.
Okay.
And the themes are very universal. And the setting in itself is very Australian, there's no doubt. I think that is actually translating quite well and quite warmly to a British audience.
And so this is an original musical. Because this is not an adaptation of any other pre-existing piece. Tell us a little about the style of music that's used in this. What can audiences expect?
Well, I guess it's a combination of, it's quite folkish at times, Australian folk and contemporary musical theatre. And there are some songs that are quite contemporary musical theatre sounding. There's some reviews, and I think quite rightfully have said that there are sort of Sondheim-esque moments in the show.
It's
interesting.
To its credit, it's a narrative-driven score, and that's not taking away from the soaring melodies and tunes and how tuneful and folky it is, but it is very much narrative-driven, and that's where I think the Sondheim link comes in, is that,
Sure.
you know, it's driving out of the narrative all the time and really moving the story forward, which I personally love. Like, that's my favourite sort of musical theatre, is when it's really all moving the story forward. But yeah, I agree, Sean, the folky element.
It really does conjure like, I know it sounds odd to say, but it is
The Australian voice.
The Australian voice. There is, you know, we're set on a sheep farm, so there are very expansive numbers to sort of help convey that sense of space.
Yeah.
But there is also a lightness and an energy that is very Australian about the sound, without it not sounding. It's a very musical theatre score at the same time, so it's a unique score. I think it's quite. And
you can buy it on iTunes.
Oh, excellent. Good to know.
So the original cast recording is really great, and it's available on iTunes.
So there's a cast of 4 Australians.
That's right.
And you said, and 1 Welshman as well, you were saying from earlier.
That's right.
And how is he getting along?
He's doing he's amazing. I think he's amazing. It's, I mean, what a scary task to be the one non-Australian in an Australian musical. But he's amazing. He has stepped up to the task, and he's fantastic in the role.
He's given as good as he's got as well. So there's been lots of ribbing, but he's given
Only
it back.
fun, I imagine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you essentially have 4 Australians in the cast,
Yes.
and 1 Welshman. What are the names of everybody involved in the piece? Who are the
So
performers?
our rogue non-Australian, not that you would know because he's brilliant, is Iestyn Arwell from Wales, and we have Simone Craddock, Belinda Wollaston, Sean Rennie, and myself, and our MD, the fabulous Alex Beechin. And we should also do a shout out to our wonderful lighting and set and costume designers, Seth Rook-Williams and Christopher Hone were our design team, and they've done an awesome job in turning the black box of the King's Head into the Australian Outback quite amazingly.
Absolutely,
brought the Outback into the King's Head Theatre.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. And how would you describe the design of the piece in general? Because obviously we're sitting here on a set that does look very authentic. I mean, to an American's eyes, anyway.
It's quite amazing because we rehearsed in this space for the 4 weeks that we rehearsed, and then when we came in, and it felt quite cozy, and then we came into the space on the first day of tech rehearsal with the set, and it felt 5 times bigger than we'd ever felt. It was just like all of a sudden we had sky and space and the sheep farm around us. It was really amazing. So Chris did an amazing job, and it has to be a multifunctional space. Obviously, we're
flashing back.
We're flashing back.
Sure.
Going from multiple locations.
Yeah, so he's done an amazing job, and I love working on this set because it really does help conjure the world that we're trying to create. And same with the lighting design. He's done an amazing job with helping us feel sort of, you know, warm in cold old England.
That's right, yeah. It's meant to be 40 degrees.
Yeah.
I think we rehearsed in 10 degrees.
Yeah, we're rehearsing in scarves. We're saying, oh, it's boiling,
It's so
Ma.
hot here, isn't it?
It's all about suspending your disbelief, isn't
Exactly
That's
right.
right.
And how's the audience reaction been? You've touched on that a little bit, but generally good reactions from the audience who've seen it thus far.
Yes.
Absolutely. I had one friend come and see it who, for about 20 minutes after the show finished, we were standing out the front, and she could not stop weeping.
Yeah.
Which I think
With joy, I hope.
yeah, well, she was very moved. It is a very moving piece.
Yeah.
It's very fun, but it is very moving. And she was very, very, very touched, to the point where she eventually had to say, I have to go home because I can't stop crying. But yeah, the audience response has been very, very positive and very warm. So it's been very nice to be in this really cozy little theatre doing this immense emotional journey with these characters, and see that it really does translate really well.
Brilliant. Guys, thank you so much for chatting with us today. It sounds very exciting, and best of luck to you both in the future.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you very much.
Thank you.
Cast your eye across the paddock, beyond the furthest tree. This place is mine, as far as the eye can see. Every day I get up, I set out for the day. Like my dad and his before, it's always been that way. And the work is hard, I know, and it takes a lot from me. But I give it gladly to help it grow, as far as the eye can see. As far as the eye can see. Every year it's changing right before my eyes. Something's born, something grows, and something else, well, dies. I know how to read each sign, 'cause it's passed from Dad to me. And I tend it gladly because it's mine, as far as the eye can see. As far as the eye can see. This place was built from nothing, gum trees, rocks and mud. I don't love it 'cause I own it, I love it 'cause we've grown it. It's in my blood. Cast your eye across the paddock, beyond the furthest tree. I'm planted here, as sure as them. We're anchored but we're free. And this place is my family's place, as far as the eye can see. As far as the eye can see.
As far as the eye can see there from Once We Lived Here, now playing at the King's Head Theatre. For more information, you can visit www.kingsheadtheatre.com. This episode of Musical Talk is copyright Musical Talk 2014, apart from the songs, which is copyright 2010 Dean Bryant and Matthew Frank.